Well, welcome everyone. The game that I'm playing today is called Black Swan by Vento Nuovo Games. Vento Nuovo Games, I should say. They're from Italy, and well, I have to admit, I own a number of games published by them, and I really like them. For me, they're a really good mix between playability and historicity. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying them. This one is about the European theater of operations in the Second World War, and this video is about a supply check for the Allies in this case, as the turn is 1941 and the spring turn, as you can see here. And the Germans, that is the Axis, because the Italians are also represented, as well as Axis miners. And so this one is the supply check for the Russians in this case, and the British. The Russians are the red blocks. The British are the blue blocks, light blue blocks as well, by the way. Those are fortresses. The Americans are not yet in the war. They won't join until, off the top of my head, winter 1942. So how does supply work? Well, let me show you by means of the Russian situation. All of these units are in supply because they can trace an uninterrupted supply path to either Moscow here or the edge of the board, which is the Siberian areas that you can see on the edge of the board. And those are not interrupted by any enemy units. For instance, these 4 units can trace via here, through here, etc., and then either to Moscow or to the edge of the board. So they're all in supply. And for the British, these naval units, for instance, they're in an enemy sea zone, but you don't count the sea zone the units are actually in. And you have to go through either friendly or contested sea zones to trace supply. In this case, well, usually back to your capital. The Russians have the exception that they have some alternate supply sources as well, but the British have to trace to London. Now, they can trace this way because the big yellow disc actually shows that the sea zone is Axis controlled, in this case Italian controlled, and but they can trace the other way because this sea zone over here is contested, and from there they can trace through, well, Suez Canal, and I'm not sure if you're actually supposed to go via the Indian Ocean. Yeah, you probably have to, because basically you're tracing around the Cape, and it's no problem. You can just do that without any problems. So that way you'd end up again in London, because all the other sea zones are either contested or controlled, which is enough for supply. For reinforcements, the situation is slightly different. I'll cover that in another video. But actually, as you can see here, I'll show you one more example. The land units here in Tobruk, they're also in supply, because even though they can trace through this area here, I'll just call it Gazala, because the cube actually shows that it's Italian control, but at the moment they can trace through here. Again, the sea zone is contested, that's okay. So they can trace from there to, well, the same route. The naval units just trace supply. Had this sea zone be enemy controlled, then they would be out of supply in this case. So hopefully that clarifies the supply rules in Black Swan for you.